Michelle Gramberg here. Welcome to Positive Energy, enlightening television for the evolving soul. On this show, we're talking about transcendental meditation. Practiced by thousands around the world, transcendental meditation, or TM, is proven effective for calming the mind and enhancing well-being. My guest is Jack Sugden, certified TM instructor. Let's get started right now on Positive Energy.
The principle of transcendental meditation is simple. Being is bliss in its nature, is infinite happiness. Mind is always moving in the direction of greater happiness. It is the experience of everyone. Wherever the mind goes, it goes in the direction of greater happiness. And because the nature of inner being is bliss, infinite happiness, therefore, the mind during transcendental meditation takes that inward course in a most spontaneous manner. In this meditation, we do not concentrate or control the mind. We let the mind follow its natural instinct towards greater happiness, and it goes within and gains bliss consciousness in the being. Yes. The technique is, we take a specific thought which suits us, which is called the mantra, or a suitable sound for us, which we receive from the trained teacher of transcendental meditation. And these teachers are found everywhere in the world. I have trained them properly, and they give a suitable word, and the man experiences the thought of that sound and starts minimizing that thought to experience the finer state of that thought until the source of thought is fathomed and the conscious mind reaches the transcendental area of being. So from gross thought to the subtle state of thought, to the subtler, to the subtlest state of thought, this is the path of transcendental meditation till the mind, conscious mind, reaches the bliss consciousness or transcendental consciousness or pure consciousness or the state of being.
Hi Jack, welcome to Positive Energy.
I'm really happy to be here, Michelle. Thanks for inviting me.
I'm excited to have you to talk about the nature of and the many benefits of transcendental meditation. I'm really curious and I want to know more. I'm sure our audience does as well.
Great, I look forward to this conversation.
Let's get started. Let's start with you a little bit. Just tell us a little bit about your background and how you were introduced to TM and when.
Okay. At the time I heard about transcendental meditation, I was a postgrad in education. And at that time I went to a conference on the future of education. And there was a discussion there about transcendental meditation, which I thought was really interesting because at that time there was new research that came out on the brain. First brain research on meditation. And it was just incredible. What we found was there was a coherence in the brain functioning during that experience of transcending, and the physiology was in a deep state of rest. So I thought there was applications for this in education. Yeah, and I thought to myself, I think I'd like to become a teacher of transcendental meditation. So I went over to Europe between this was in 1973 when I went to the conference. In 1974 I went to Europe.
Ago.
Yeah, just a few years ago. Yeah, and in 1974 I went to Europe, took teacher training classes with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi and advanced training programs between 74 and 76. And so I got a chance to spend a lot of time with Maharishi back then.
So you started when so many people started, and you mentioned Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So say a little bit more about him and how TM originated, according to him, as the founder.
Right. Well, the transcendental meditation technique is an ancient technique.
Right. He sort of just brought it over here, or sort of formalized
it's an ancient technique from the Vedic tradition in India. And his teacher was the one that revived it. We brought it back out again.
I like that word, revived it.
Revived it because it was lost for a little while. And it was Maharishi who took the mission to bring it out to the world, seeing the need for it. So he spent, starting in the 1950s, traveling around the world many, many times.
So it became so popular. I don't know how popular it was in the 60s and 70s, maybe because of the Beatles and so many other
Well, you know, back then,
famous people who started to
Right.
follow and practice. But that's a good thing because it exposed it, gave it some notoriety in that way. And the important point is that people started to practice. So
exactly. Well, back in the 60s, almost every college campus, lots of students were learning to meditate. And all the major universities had TM clubs back then.
right.
So it was talked about, everybody knew about it. When I went to teacher training and came back, it moved from college students to the mainstream America.
Got it.
Everybody was coming in
So it
to
wasn't
learn
just the
TM.
lovely hippies. It was
Mom
and dad.
everybody, mom and dad, everybody was coming to
aunts
learn
and
TM.
uncles.
Absolutely, yeah. And there was, it was major news on television and magazines that everyone knew about it.
So do you find in your observation or through data, I guess, is it just as popular and relevant today? I mean, meditation is mainstream for certain. Everybody's talking
Definitely.
about it and doing
Definitely,
it.
yeah.
From Oprah on up.
Oh, absolutely.
But do you see a surge or is it up and down with TM, more popular, more relevant?
It's a good question. Right now, it's more popular than ever because there's so much research that has gone into meditation over the years. Particularly transcendental meditation has been researched for 50 years.
Yeah.
And
There's a lot of research behind it because we've had time. You've had
there's a lot of research, and there's
40
probably
years behind us, to,
Yeah.
more than that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of evidence now of what happens, what are the results of meditation. So you're coming in, it's not like, well, I'm not sure what I'm going to get out of this. We have a pretty good idea that, what to expect from practicing transcendental meditation.
And for a lot of people need that, the scientific basis or some clinical basis for it, an evidence base for it,
yes.
for them to want to do it or to
Right.
be able to implement it into different, more clinical kinds of settings.
Exactly.
So say a little bit about the nature of TM and how it affects the brain or the nervous system. I know just in layman's terms, so people can understand it.
Right. Well, the technique itself is very, very simple because it uses the tendency of the mind to move. It's dynamic, it's not static. And it's always looking for
That's
something
for
more
certain.
and more, right.
The mind's always moving.
Always moving, it's dynamic. So in TM, we utilize that same tendency of the mind to allow the mind to go in, to seek out that state of deep rest within, because the mind wants to be there. It's very fulfilling. When we transcend thought, the mind is just awake, and it's a very fulfilling experience. So the mind is seeking that, giving it an opportunity.
So what are some of the misconceptions you come across with people about the nature of meditation and TM, if there are any, and what, even fine-tuning more into what distinguishes it from other forms of meditation?
Right, and there's so many meditations available today. So everyone has to decide, what meditation do I want to learn?
It's not one size fits all.
So yeah, because every meditation, every meditation is taught differently. There's different procedures, there's different instructions. So you're going to have different outcomes. And now we know there are some neuropsychologists who are studying meditation, and they categorized meditations into 3 categories. And they are, first of all, focused attention meditation.
Mm-hmm.
That's a meditation where we're focusing on some, like Zen or Vipassana,
Yeah.
focusing
Like
on
a
something
single
external,
point
internal,
of focus.
some point of focus. So that's one category of meditation. And that's, and now we know, because they're looking at what's going on in the brain. So we can categorize it. We know that certain brainwave patterns produce certain effects.
So it's
certain
different brain
results.
waves for different types of
Right.
meditation?
Right, exactly.
Even?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
You can
so
see all that now.
you can see it.
Technology.
I mean, with electroencephalograph has been around for a long time, but functional MRIs now, we can see exactly what's going on in the brain during meditation. So it's very fascinating. But I can tell you the difference, and it's very clear, that when you're practicing a focused attention meditation, there's more cognitive control involved in the process. There's more gamma waves, which is associated with problem solving. That's the kind of waves that are produced when you're solving a problem. So that's the kind of waves that are produced during that meditation technique. So those who can master it probably develop that kind of skill. So I see it as a kind of a skill development. Then the second category is open monitoring, and that's in the category of mindfulness. So
just holding an open space without judgment.
just without judgment.
Yeah.
And that produces primarily theta 2, which has to do with inner self-reflection. It's a quieter level of activity of the mind, but it is engaging in a particular skill. And I guess I would say maybe more of a coping skill for stress, where you can, just be not involved in, say, the emotions coming up or whatever's happening. And so that produces
value in that as well.
Exactly.
You cultivate different aspects
exactly.
of yourself.
It's culturing a skill.
Okay.
For those who are dealing with pain or dealing with a lot of, stress and anxiety, it is effective. The third category is what we call automatic self-transcending, which is completely different than the others, because it's not engaging the mind in a particular mental process, because theta waves are associated with mental processing. What it is just the mind slipping into, on its own, beyond thought, to just inner awareness.
So that's why TM says that the method is effortless.
It's effortless. It slips.
Because it's natural. We're harnessing or paying attention or utilizing the mind's natural ability to slip into that state when allowed.
Exactly.
And that's why it's effortless, so maybe easier for everyone.
Right, because you can't try to get to that state of stillness. When you try, you keep the mind engaged and active.
Right. You're
So
trying.
You're trying.
You're trying.
You're trying, so you're engaging.
You're looking, you're engaging.
Right.
You're more
so,
active.
So it's kind of a letting go, and the mind just slips into it. So we just set up, in TM, we just set up the right conditions for that to happen. But what's interesting, when that happens, the brain wakes up, because this is transcending. It's a natural experience. We've had it probably before in our life. We just didn't know what it was or how to get back to it.
Yeah.
But it's just slipping away
Now
from that
we've labeled
thought.
it, and we've really categorized it, and we know.
Yeah. So what happens is the brain waves become more synchronous when we slip into that state, and orderliness starts to take place of the brain activity, and the brain starts to communicate left, right, front, back. So it's a total, what we call total brain integration.
So the main tool,
While the
I
body's at a
guess,
deep state of rest.
is mantra.
The mantra
So-
is a vehicle.
It's a vehicle, right? That's what I was thinking.
Right.
It's a tool. It's a vehicle. It's not the be all end all itself. It's not the
No.
main point, but it's the
Exactly.
vehicle to drive or encourage or invite the mind into that state. But for people who have heard the word mantra and they're not really sure what it is, can you just say briefly the most basic definition of mantra?
The mantra is a sound, and we use a sound that's what we call a meaningless sound. So it's not a meaning associated with
It's not
it.
a word then.
It's not a word
It's
that
a
we
sound.
associate some concept to. And the reason we use that kind of sound is that it allows the mind to be free and not directed. See, this is setting up the conditions for the mind to slip in, because it's the mind that wants to be there. You just set up the right conditions. So the mind is left free to float on a meaningless sound, but in that process, the mind has an opportunity just to slip.
Nice.
And that's transcending.
Nice.
That's why it's so easy.
That's why it's easy.
That's good, yeah.
It's simple in theory at least, and easy as you would imagine it should be. We would think ideally
Exactly.
it should be.
Well, there was a
We're
young-
not that complex, are we?
Well, we teach this to children as young as 10 years old. I got to tell you a quick story, very quick. There was a young boy in Princeton here. He had ADHD. He was 10 years old. And his father brought him in because he couldn't sit still for more than a second. I talked to him. He was rolling over the chair, running around the chair. He just couldn't sit and talk to me. He would just constantly be in motion. His father said, if you can get him to sit still, I'll pay you whatever you
get
want.
a gold star.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll pay you whatever you
Whatever
want.
you want. And so we'll see. I said, I'll take him in for instruction. I took him in, and he just went immediately just into a deep state of silence. He
They're
sat there, he
close
did
to it.
not
Children
move.
are-
Children were so
yeah.
innocent.
Yeah.
So I asked him, and we have a course where those who learn come back together in a group. There's a lot of adults in there. So I said, CJ, tell me what your experience was. And he said, it was easy. He said, I just followed the flow of the mind and I was calm inside. And here's a boy who has ADHD.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of success with kids who have
Beautiful.
ADHD.
So I know that's one of the latest areas of research and applications with TM, and I know there's a large body of research, as you mentioned, in so many areas in terms of the benefits that now we can actually point to all that evidence. Mention a couple of the other areas. You mentioned to me the anxiety, it's being applied for blood pressure, reducing high blood pressure, ADHD now you said, and PTSD. I know there's a lot there, but just briefly, like what's the nuts and bolts there, and what's the end result?
Right. Well, let's look at one of the major research studies that have published recently. Was funded by the NIH. It was a 9-year study on cardiac patients who were at the risk of heart attack or stroke. And it was funded by the NIH, and the research was done primarily at Stanford University. And over that 9-year period, they took, it was a random control group, those who were all on medications because they were at this high level of risk, but they added an intervention of transcendental meditation to the regimen, to a control group. And they wanted to see if there's any significant results from adding an intervention on top of the drug medications that they were taking. And they found that there was there was thousands involved in this, but those who were practicing the transcendental meditation had a 66% reduction in the risk of heart attack and stroke compared to the rest. So that was extremely significant. You can't get that from drug therapy or any other type of...
It's such a large number that it's really undeniable that it was that piece, the element added to their treatment that made the difference.
And
for
it got
them.
the attention.
It's that mind-body connection. We just can't minimize that and skirt that.
This is why alternative therapy should be more supported.
Yes.
Because it can be very effective. We just have to test it and
Natural,
try it out
inexpensive,
and see that it works.
effective.
Right, exactly. And now the American Heart Association looked at all the data and is now recommending it to doctors as part of their treatment programs to add transcendental meditation as a recommendation to their patients with high blood pressure. So there you go. It's
Wouldn't
just
we love to
beginning.
see more doctors
but
on
it's
their
just
little prescription pad writing once a day, transcendental meditation?
Right. Well, we hope that will happen, and it's starting to happen. We get a lot of people coming to us recommended by their doctors now. So we're at that stage. There's enough evidence out there, and doctors are confident.
And they can find the evidence.
About
and
it.
We'll mention a little bit more how to find more information about TM,
Right.
but it's basically it's tm.org, and on the website there is a lot of that research there.
All of that,
the articles,
everything, yes, all of the research and a lot of video information about the technique.
So there are so many dimensions to this practice. Let's talk about my favorite dimension and what this show really is very much about, which is the spiritual dimension, the spiritual nature of TM. So say a little bit more about that. You know, we talked about the transcendent, what's available in the transcendent ability of TM.
Right. Transcending, really, I mean, it's been written about in all the scriptures throughout the ages, and every spiritual tradition, religious tradition have talked about this experience of transcending. And what's happening when you transcend? You're just coming back to yourself, the source of yourself. You're coming back to that fullness that's within you that we can tap into, that source of inner happiness. Everything is that we are using only a very small percentage of what we're capable of using in our life because we're just caught up in the active thinking mind all the time. But if we come back to the source of conscious awareness, which is that transcendental awareness, then we tap into ourself and we bring ourself into everything we do. And so with meditation, TM, you meditate, and then you engage. And you're bringing more and more of yourself into your life. And that includes everything that we hold dear, you know, growth of our heart, growth of our mind, growth of, you know, our relationships with others, and more appreciation in life that starts to grow more and more. And, you know, we start to, and actually at the same time, you cannot divorce what's going on in the physiology at the same time, because it really is the integration of the brain with the body and the mind and the environment that all starts to become integrated into a wholeness.
Yeah.
So we live life in more of a unity rather than always fragmented and not really feeling connected in life. So more of a wholeness starts to grow in your life.
Less fragmentation, more
that's-
wholeness.
Yeah,
That's really the value in it, being more, right, of our authentic self, our true
Right.
self, that there's so much more to our nature, so much more potential than we tend to recognize, and that our mind really sort of, you know, limits it in that way. So it's TM, again, as meditation does, teaches us how to be off the cushion too. It's not just about sitting still.
it's not just sitting still.
20 minutes. It
No.
is a way of being, and
Right.
we're learning and growing through that
Yeah, it's
process.
actualizing.
It spills over.
You can realize
Yeah.
yourself deep within yourself, but you have to actualize it. And that's just going back and forth, engaging in your daily life. No matter what you do in your life, it doesn't matter. You engage. And then you start to bring out everything that's within in your life. And yeah, so it's beautiful. And that's just the beginning. That's normal life. If we're using our whole potential, that's at normal. Then we begin to really grow, because then we're using the full capacity of our mind, the full capacity of our ability to achieve whatever we want to achieve in life and enjoy life and be happy. That's just the beginning. That's when we really begin to live. So we're actually living more or less subnormal until
about
we can
living.
develop that and then start to really enjoy life.
So let's talk about learning TM. What are the courses? How does someone go about starting as a beginner perhaps? And what classes are being taught right now? What classes are being offered, and how can folks find them?
Right. We have introductory lectures frequently, and we usually hold them at the Erdman Center. It's right around the corner from here, at the Erdman Conference Center. And anyone's welcome to come and just hear about it and just find out for yourself if this is for you. And then we have a 4-day course. And when we teach one-to-one. It's personal instruction. So we guide that experience into the transcendent, one-to-one. So somebody comes in, it takes about an hour, they start to have that experience of settling in right away.
Right away.
Right away.
Right away.
Because it's natural.
Yeah.
And it's easy.
They're going to
We
feel
just
that.
kind of, and then we have a follow-up 3 days consecutively where we actually go into more understanding of meditation based on their experiences now. So we have the first day we just kind of verify that we're meditating correctly. The second day we actually go into more of the mechanics of the mind and body working together, releasing stress. TM is a technique of releasing stress, getting rid of the stress and fatigue that's holding us back in our life. And then the third day is that integration we were just talking about, the development of that wholeness, that fullness by just meditating, going into your daily life.
So anyone can learn it, and in terms of practicing, it's recommended. How often is it recommended to practice?
Twice a day for 20 minutes.
Twice a day, that's what I thought.
Right. And we have lifetime follow-up support. And anywhere in the country, there's TM centers everywhere.
Yeah.
So they can go anywhere to get a check on their meditation, make sure they're meditating correctly, or attend advanced programs.
So people can find out about what courses are currently running through the website.
TM.org.
So that's TM.org.
When you go there, there's a little button that says to find a teacher. You click on that, you put in your name, your phone number, and your zip code, and then if it comes to here, we contact you and give you all the information, everything that's happening in the next month or two.
That's beautiful. So I hope that lots of people will kind of reach out for this. I mean, because I know that maybe some people don't even realize it's still around. But I'll tell you, I teach meditation myself. I lead meditation a lot. And almost every time someone in the audience where I'm teaching it will raise their hand and say, what is TM? They've heard of it, or they've practiced it.
Right.
I'm telling you, like 9 times out of 10, there's always one person there who has already, you know, practiced it. So it
And
just shows how much.
At one time, back in the 70s, we were talking about that in the beginning of the show,
Back in the
there's
70s.
probably 1% of the population here all practicing transcendental meditation. There was over 1 million people nationwide back in the 70s. So there's a lot of people out there who have learned it a long time
They're
ago.
still around.
Oh, they're still around. They
They're
come by and
kicking
say,
it.
"No, I've been meditating for 40 years."
They are those long-time meditators.
Yeah, long-time meditators. There's
A
many
shout
of them.
out to all those long-time.
That's right, and there's many here in Princeton.
And there's
That's
many here in Princeton.
Yes.
Yay, Princeton,
Yes.
go Princeton,
Yes,
including
definitely.
right, including us. So
Exactly.
and there are some celebrities I just saw on the website like Ellen DeGeneres
Ellen
and Jerry Seinfeld.
Yes, yeah.
See, it makes you funnier, TM too.
It's funny that a lot of the
One or the
comedians,
other.
a lot of comedians have taken transcendental meditation. I guess it helps, you know, because you know there's a lot of comedians out there practicing TM.
There must be something to it. I think so. You take life lighter. You're lighter, you're
Exactly.
less serious about things, you're
Yes.
more in that even balance kind
Yeah.
of calm state, and I think
Yeah.
that makes you funnier.
Yeah, and being more in the moment, you know,
Yes.
just kind of
Yes.
enjoying
There's
the
absolutely-
moment you're in, and not always be worrying about what's going to happen
You're
next.
experiencing
or-
more pleasure, and humor just
Yeah.
falls naturally from being in a state of pleasantness, a state of enjoyability
Exactly.
in that way.
Yeah.
So Jack, we're almost done,
Oh.
but leave us with some final thoughts or a final inspirational message, if you would.
Oh, sure. Well, I would encourage everyone who's interested in meditation to find out more about it. And if you're interested in transcendental meditation, come to an introductory lecture. We actually go into more of the benefits of the TM program and also how it works, the actual mechanics of how it works. So you get to really understand all about it. And it's the most, I can tell you it's life transforming.
Yeah.
It's life transforming, and you'll never regret learning to meditate.
So let go of the belief that you can't meditate, which I hear from a lot of people.
Yes.
That's for everybody else, but I have that monkey mind that it's
Yes.
all over the place and I can't do it. Not necessarily true, a misconception. So give yourself a chance to really come and check it out, that state that we're talking about.
Exactly.
So thank you very much, Jack. I appreciate your time and your energy and the work that you are doing in the world. Please keep it up. I hope folks will visit tm.org.
Thank you so much, Michelle. It was enjoyable being here today.
Thanks for being here on Positive Energy.
Great. I loved it.
We're wrapping up another enlightening show. I hope you enjoyed our exploration of transcendental meditation. Remember, there is a peaceful and calm center already deep within you. Let me know what you thought about our show. Thank you for watching. Be kind to one another and join me next time on Positive Energy.